Years ago, I got this safe from my father-in-law, and we didn't really feel like we had a need for a safe. So we kind of just put it out in the garage and forgot it. And years later, now that I'm like, oh, I wish I had a safe, I went out to the garage and I saw we have the safe. And here's the problem. I have no idea how to unlock the safe. I've called the company. I can't prove that I own it. I'm going to have to get somebody to pick the lock. It's got a dial and a key. And so I am dying to know, did I actually put anything into that safe a long time ago before I set it out into the garage? I'd like to use it, but it's just locked away. The same thing happens with creativity. And biblical creativity does not have to stay locked away for everybody who's an image bearer of the Lord. In this video, we're going to talk about one of the first things you can do to unlock biblical creativity in your work and in your life. Hi, my name is Johnny Mack. I am the founder of Unlock Conference. It's a one-day event across multiple locations designed to do one thing: unlock biblical creativity for leaders in the local church and nonprofit. I've been in full-time ministry for 25 years, and now I design ideas and I help people bring their ideas to life. So let's talk about unlocking biblical creativity. See, just like that safe in my garage, it seems like it's locked away for so many people. They either given up on it or they just raise their hand and say, I'm just not that creative. So how do we unlock biblical creativity? Well, in order to do that, I want to go back and look at ancient creatives at work for one of the most impressive projects that started out in Exodus. It was after the people left Egypt and they're on their way to the promised land, and God commanded them to build something called the tabernacle. It was going to be a transportable place, a majestic tent that was craftsman built with all of the people's help for one reason: for the glory of the Lord, to meet with him, to offer sacrifices, to worship. And it was a pretty impressive thing. If you don't know anything about the tabernacle, look it up sometime, and I'm going to show you a picture of it. It's pretty impressive to know that that was built way back then. But those ancient creatives taught us something about unlocking biblical creativity. In Exodus chapter 35, you can start reading the account about how this tabernacle was put together. Their leader Moses talked to God and was given instructions about how this whole thing's going to go down. And so he spoke to the people, and in there are some clues about how we can unlock biblical creativity in our work. Let's check it out. I'm going to be reading from the ESV version. In chapter 35, verse 4, it says this: Moses said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, "This is the thing the Lord has commanded. Take among from you a contribution to the Lord." And then here is our first clue about the work that's about to happen. It says, "Whoever is of a generous heart, let him bring the Lord's contribution." And what we read from that moment forward is the people responding. Look at this in verse 20. Then all the congregation of the people of Israel departed from the presence of Moses, and they came, and everyone whose heart stirred him and everyone whose spirit moved him brought the Lord's contribution to be used within the meeting for all of its service and for the holy garments. So Moses calls upon the people. He says, we're going to build this tabernacle, but we need everybody's help. This massive creative project. And we learn one of the principles of unlocking biblical creativity right at the beginning of this. If you're going to be a biblical creative, having a generous heart that's stirred by the Lord into action matters. You see, our creative work serves others and it brings glory to God. And Moses led the people. And as you continue to read, if you read all the way down, you'll start seeing people were bringing whatever they had. Whatever they had. So they had a generous spirit, and then they just brought what they had to the project. So often we count ourselves out right away and we feel like, I don't have anything to offer. But the Lord has already given you something to bring as a biblical creative. And with a generous heart, we can begin offering those things. In verse 29, it says, all the men and women, the people of Israel, whose heart moved them to bring anything had been commanded by Moses to be done as a free will offering to the Lord. You see, biblical creativity is part of our free will. We can choose to use it or hide it. And Moses gave the people, even in this moment, as they're transitioning from slavery in Egypt to freedom in Canaan, the opportunity to create. And it all comes from a place of generosity. But then we see in verse 30, a couple men pop up. And in here we see the second principle of being a biblical creative. Let's see if we can examine this and find out what it is. Then Moses said to the people of Israel, "See, the Lord has called the name of Bezalel, the son of Uri, the son of Hur, of the tribe of Judah." By the way, apologies to that man. I know wherever he's at right now, people are butchering his name left and right. I'm really sorry. I'm going to work on it. In verse 31, it says, "He has filled him with the Spirit of God, with skill, intelligence, and knowledge, and with all the craftsmanship." Verse 32, "To devise artistic designs, to work in gold and silver and bronze, and cutting stones for setting and carving wood, and work in every skilled craft. And he inspired him to teach." Then you see it continues on with this other guy, Oliab. "Both him and Oliab, the son of Azamach, the tribe of Dan, he has filled them with skill to do every sort of work done by the engraver, or a designer, or by embroiderer, blue and purple scarlet yarns, and fine twined linen and weaver." Shout out to my daughter, who is an awesome crocheter. She would be amazing at this project. By any sort of workman or skilled designer. Do you see what took place here? Biblical creativity comes from a place of being a generous heart, bringing whatever you have, and then relying on the fact that he has filled us. Just like these two men, it says God was filling them for the work they had to be a teacher, to be equipped. And so as a biblical creative, here's the deal. We don't rely on our own skill or power. We rely on what God gives us and puts into us. See, we're going to operate and unlock biblical creativity in our work, no matter what role we have, from accountants to administrative assistants to preachers to youth pastors to people on the ground in nonprofits running food pantries. If you're doing Uber Eats, whatever it is you do as a biblical creative, wherever you operate, whatever you're dreaming about for the kingdom, it comes from a place of a generous heart, and it's because he's filled us that we can create. In fact, it's in our very nature as creatives made as image bearers. We have to build and make for his glory, just like they did with the tabernacle back then. That was an impressive creative effort by a lot of people to bring that thing into existence. I wonder what would happen today if you unlocked biblical creative. Instead of your safe sitting out in the garage, you actually got the combination, which is to be generous and to know that your power comes from the Lord to create and make and do whatever he's asked you to do. I wonder what would happen. That's one of the first things you can do to unlock biblical creativity. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I hope you'll join us at one of our Unlock conferences. The next one's coming up. You can check out unlockconference.com for all the details about that event. Make sure you subscribe to this channel to see other videos like this. So appreciate you watching. Until next time.